What are you doing? Good morning, everyone. It's Chris and
Parker.
That's Parker. We're gonna do a story time for you today. We've never done one of these, and unfortunately, this story that we're about to do is gross.
Really gross.
It's really gross. So this is your trigger warning. If you get grossed out by stories and gross things, there are gross things that I'm going to be describing in this video. So just watch a different video if that's, we've got lots of videos. I'll even put a suggestion somewhere that has no gross stuff in it. You can go watch that. But if you want to hear the gross story, stick around. The reason I'm telling this story is because it is something that I had to deal with as a homeowner, and I wanted to warn other people about this and make sure that you take the proper precautions so that this doesn't happen to you, because it's really gross and terrible and makes you feel sick inside. I'll explain how to help yourself at the end of the video.
So yesterday, I was getting the laundry from the dryer, and I smelled something when I opened the dryer. I was like, what's that smell? I smell something moldy. And then my mom, she's like, what's that smell? It smells moldy.
So I went in to check the lint area, not the lint trap, we had cleaned that out already, but behind the dryer there's this silver hose that takes the air from the dryer out of the dryer and out into outside, right? So I was gonna pull the dryer away, unhook that, and see if any lint got caught in there and was wet and moldy or something like that. When I pulled it back, I noticed there were a bunch of little pieces of tissue, facial tissue, on the ground. And I found a half-eaten Lara bar on the ground, and I realized that the smell was probably a dead animal. I had smelt that before a few times in my life. Every time I investigated that smell, I found a dead animal. So I swept everything up, and I was expecting to find a dead animal at some point. I never did. Now I could do the job that I actually went back there to do, and I was gonna unhook that hose. And as soon as I unhooked it from the dryer, the smell got worse. And I looked into the hole that goes inside of the dryer, and I could see like a mound of stuff right there. So I took a screwdriver and I sort of scraped it like this, and ploop, a dead baby mouse fell out of the dryer, or rat. It was pretty big. I think it was a baby rat, but it was covered in ants. It smelled so bad, and it just like splatted on the ground. Oh, it's so gross. It was so gross.
It was so gross.
Since I know rodents don't typically have just one baby, I knew that there was probably more in there. So I pulled the entire dryer unit outside, looked inside, and I thought, okay, I can take this apart, I can clean it up, and then we can put it back together, and we'll still have our dryer, because dryers are expensive. And I started poking around inside of the hole of the dryer, and it was caked. All the sides were caked with urine and mud and fecal matter. It was just like, I was using a scrub brush scrubbing it, and as I was scrubbing it and scraping it and getting deeper and deeper into the dryer, it smelled worse and worse. And I could tell that I was gonna have to flip the whole thing over, take the whole thing apart, and probably find a nest full of rodents. I realized that it was a lost cause, and we were going to have to replace the dryer, because even if we got everything out, even if I scrubbed it completely, I feel like mentally we would still have dead rodent smell in our clothes whenever we use that dryer. So then I pulled the hose completely out of the wall, and there was a huge hole that had been chewed through the side of it into the behind the dryer area, which is where I found all the tissues and stuff. And they had stuffed this tube with sticks, feathers, cotton, anything that they had found outside. They stuffed it inside of this dryer hose, which I guess is a common problem. Mice and rats want a warm, enclosed space to live, and a dryer vent is a great place for them to burrow into and have babies. And that's what happened to us. Another thing about this story that's a little disturbing is that Jessica and I were talking about the day before, we were trying to dry a shirt. We did a photo shoot and we had a certain shirt that we wanted Parker to wear, and we kept drying this one shirt. It had a stain on it. We scrubbed it, washed it, put it in the dryer, and we were just running it, thought it would dry super quick, and it took forever. It didn't dry. The dryer was making this burning, almost like cooking smell, and we didn't think anything of it. We thought it was just the shirt getting too hot, but the shirt never dried. I think that whatever animals were in there ended up getting essentially baked inside the dryer, which is really disturbing.
My dad was telling me stories while he was pulling the thing out, the dryer out, and
Parker kept me company the whole time I was fixing the dryer or trying to fix the dryer, and he wouldn't get close to it.
it was too gross.
It was too gross. It was too smelly. So I was working on it, but I was telling him stories of other rat incidences that I have had that are also really gross. I'm not going to tell them in this video, but if you are interested in them, let me know in the comment section. Some of them are really gross, but I don't think any of them are as gross as the idea of us putting our clean laundry into a container that's basically cycling air from a dead rat's nest.
That's like grosser than all of the stories. All of the stories were like pretty funny.
So how did this happen, and how can you prevent it from happening? The vent goes to outside, and the previous owners of our house probably had the same problem happen to them because a very homemade version of a lint trap was basically on the outside. They had taken 2 pieces of chicken wire, laid them on top of each other to make the hole smaller, and then screwed in like a wooden frame into place. It over time sort of rotted and came away from the wall. I didn't have the materials to do anything fancy, but I did manage to pull that off, because that's obviously where the mice were coming from, or the rats. And I built a new one, and I'll show you what it looks like. Come on over. Should we show them what it looks like?
Yes.
All right. So this is a temporary fix. This vent right here is where all the hot air from the dryer normally comes from. And I built sort of a cage around it with some scrap wood and this chicken wire that's too small for even a mouse to get through. So that should hold it until I can get some better supplies and replace it. Once that kind of gets filled up with lint, I'm gonna pull it off of the wall and put something a little more permanent in place. I built that really fast because I didn't want that hole available to creatures to crawl into our house. There's no evidence of rats or mice or any other rodent in the rest of the house. That part of the house is sort of closed off, so hopefully we don't see any more mice in the house. But this is a really common problem. I'm also doing some research on special lint doors and stuff. What are you doing? So anyway, if you live in a house where there is a dryer with a dryer vent, go check out where it blows the hot air out of your house, and make sure that no little critter can get in there, because if they do, you might end up having to replace your entire dryer, and that's takes time and it's expensive, and it's a really terrible job trying to fix it on your own, which I tried to do for a long time before finally realizing that we need to get a new dryer. Thanks a lot for watching, you guys. Sorry this video was a little grosser than our usual content, but I think there's an important lesson here, and so I wanted to let you guys know about that. And it was a good time. We had it was a good bonding experience, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about things and told gross stories about other rats that we knew once upon a time.
And if you want to hear another gross story about rats, I would be a pleasure to tell you.
You want to tell a gross story about rats? Which of the stories that I told you was your favorite out of the gross rat stories?
The last one.
The last one. Oh yeah. That's the grossest one. Anyway, thanks again for watching. If you like our videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notifications when we post new videos. We usually post about 2 videos a week, right? Roughly. We love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Bye!